British MPs are considering launching a parliamentary investigation into the role of trade envoys. It follows the arrest of King Charles's brother, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. He was the UK's special trade representative from 2001 until 2011. The former prince has since been released while police investigate whether he shared confidential government documents with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. MPs on the Business and Trade Committee will meet on Tuesday to discuss their options. Let's go live now to Camille Nedelec, who joins us from outside Buckingham Palace in London. So, Camille, amidst all of this, what of the institution itself, the broader royal family, how are they dealing with this?
Well, perhaps you can hear the household cavalry of Buckingham Palace behind me. They're certainly loud and proud, but the royal family itself have not said anything publicly in person, and that's following the famous don't complain, don't explain adage that they follow. And they've continued their public engagements as usual. So no elaboration on the previous statement issued by King Charles III in which he expressed concern and also emphasised that the law must take its course. And it's understood that Prince William and Princess Catherine agree with that stance. Buckingham Palace also agrees with any potential move from Parliament to pass legislation that would see the former Prince, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, removed from the line of succession. Now, that would be a symbolic move. He would be extremely unlikely to make it to the throne, given he is 8th in line. But it would mark a real final break between Mountbatten-Windsor, the former favourite of the late Queen Elizabeth II, and the current modern-day monarchy that is trying to put that break between them both. And it's the culmination of a years-long slow distancing that has sped up under King Charles III.
All right, Camille, thanks for that. Camille Nedelec there outside Buckingham Palace. Let's speak now to Babu, who's a former Metropolitan Police Chief Superintendent, joins us from London. Mr. Babu, welcome to Al Jazeera. Thanks for joining us. How do you assess where we are at with the police investigation into Mountbatten-Windsor's activities? Lay out the nature, if you would, of what they're looking at and how long it might take before we have any definitive movement towards or away, indeed, from prosecution.
I think we're some way from a decision about prosecution. In essence, what we have is Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor released under investigation. That basically means that it will be months, perhaps, before he's either rearrested or has to present himself in front of a police station. The police would be assessing all the information that they've got from the searches. They made the decision to arrest him because it then allows them to search not only the property he's in, but other properties that are controlled by him. And we know that the property in Windsor is still being searched as we speak, 2 days after the event, almost 3 days now. So I think it's now going to be a case of the police assessing all that information, new information that's coming up. We know the Epstein files are revealing further information, which indicates that Andrew has been less than truthful and honest in what he's been saying to the media in terms of his relationships with Epstein, particularly in terms of when he broke that relationship on, how strong that relationship was. And there are some questions being asked about him and the validity of the photographs with Vinny Defray. So sure, there's a lot of questions for Andrew to answer when he returns to speak to the police.
Of course, he's always vigorously denied any wrongdoing over his links to Epstein. But police are also investigating in a separate inquiry Andrew's former protection officers. Why might that be?
Well, protection officers, they're required to keep a daily record of their duties. So basically, what time they're on duty, where they're on duty, who they're protecting. It sort of includes their overtimes, expenses, places they work in. So all of that information would have been included in any records that they have. So I think there's more and more questions being asked. Did protection officers turn a blind eye? We know that from the Epstein files, there's indications that the protection officers stayed at one of Epstein's mansions, the convicted paedophile's mansions. So there'll be a lot of questions that have been asked. I think what we're seeing now is the deference that there was towards the royal family, where people didn't really ask difficult questions. That seems to be dissipating. And I think there are still some questions to be asked about Sarah Ferguson, the ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor in terms of what funds she acquired from Epstein. We also know that from the released information that there was indications that Andrew's daughters, Princess Eugenie and Beatrice, were travelling to America. There's also suggestions that they were facilitating visits. So I think the more we see from the files, the more that the British press are prepared to now ask difficult questions. Nick, I've never known this, where people have shouted out questions to the monarch. People normally are very quietly and reserved.
And it's been unrelenting and getting worse, as you say. Police are also understood to be seeking unredacted documents relating to Andrew from the US Department of Justice. And I guess that's all part of the process of trying to find out exactly what's happened.
Yeah, some of the files have been released by the United States have been less than useful. They're entirely redacted. They don't really tell you a great deal. So the police will want to know the full information. We know that some of the information suggests that Andrew has passed on information, sensitive information, when he was operating as an envoy. And so the police will want to know the details, what were the outcomes of that, and want to follow up those investigations. So, I think there's a lot more to come from this. And I think the more we see, the more difficult it's going to be for Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor to justify what he was doing and the decisions he was making. I think there is an issue around how the royal family now move forward, because I think certainly Prince William, his father, King Charles, is 77. Prince William, the heir to the throne, will now really want to look at what is he inheriting and how can he limit the damage that's been done by Andrew, his uncle, who is eighth in line. It's highly unlikely he was ever going to become the monarch, but nevertheless he's eighth in line, and that presents some real difficulties for not only King Charles but also Prince William.
Dal Babu, thanks so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Dal Babu, former Metropolitan Police Chief Superintendent, joining us from London. Thank you, sir.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.